month from now on, where we're taking your questions. What we found was that people leave us questions and comments in on our streams on all the different platforms, and a lot of times we answer them, but they don't go back and respond to them. So we don't know if people are actually getting the answers that we give them. And we can actually go into more in depth on this live stream. So we're really
And
excited to be
also, only one person gets the benefit of that answer, right? Whereas
exactly
now,
that's me. So yes,
there's going to be a lot of relatability with a lot of the
right,
answers that everybody can get access to. So, and we also found there's some repetitive stuff too. So this is a way to
mhm,
kind of get the info out so that everybody gets it, and you also get a chance to interact with us. So we are, again, like Ross said, live. If you are on any platform that has the ability to chat and comment, please do so. Facebook and YouTube specifically are supposed to show up on here somewhere on this new software. It's supposed to if you're chatting, and we will. I'll try to keep an eye on the different platforms as we're going. We did um, accumulate questions over time, and we did put together some that have been submitted to us to answer for us as we're going through here with you. And we think you're going to have a good time with it. I think there's going to be some great insights and aha moments for some of you. So we look
yeah.
forward to hearing your feedback on it as well.
And kind of what we've done as well is that the question that we'll respond to generally came from an episode in the past and such. Unfortunately, with Facebook, they our episodes will drop after 30 days. However, if you go to our YouTube channel and such, now they're all listed there. So you can actually go and re-listen or listen for the first time to that episode. So you'll kind of get a little more context as far as the answer that we're giving.
Hey, and while
But
you're
we're really,
there,
and we're
remember to
live
like, share,
on
subscribe,
YouTube too. Yeah,
check
true.
out all our other content because we got a ton of
Exactly.
stuff there.
And that's where all
And
of our so this is how our new format's going to kind of look. So we do 4 events a month every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Two of those, in most cases, two of those are going to be live stream trainings, that's what we're known for. And then one of those is going to be an interview with some special super cool guest. And then the fourth one is going to be a Q&A. And this is our plan, at least for 2026. But there's so many questions that keep coming in that we got a feeling that this is just going to go on for quite some time.
yeah, we had to narrow them down for this one because we could have, I mean, we'd have been here too long for us and for you guys. So let's
Exactly.
start with the first one.
So,
Oh yeah,
so if you
and
had a
also,
but one sec. So if you had a question and it didn't get answered in this, it's still on the list. So we will ultimately get to it. So that's it. Go ahead,
and
Gary.
just to be sure, re-comment it on the comments so that make sure that we see it in case we missed it legitimately, right?
Exactly.
Um, so let's start with the first question then, Ross. So this one had to do with some of the real world things that entrepreneurs are dealing with in 2026. Some of the anxieties and things like that that come up, and we thought it was very relevant. I think that a lot of people here can kind of relate with this. So the question is: I've spent 15 years building my expertise in my field, but AI can do 60% of my work in seconds. I feel obsolete and terrified. How do I pivot without abandoning everything I've built? So, what do you think about that, Ross? I know
You know,
we had some conversations about this earlier, and you were saying
yeah,
it's not
here's
so
here's
much
the
about
thing. I don't think you pivot. I mean, pivot
yeah,
means that you're going to kind of, in my mind, the context of that is that you're going to go in a different direction. No, keep in mind that AI is simply a tool
hmm
that can make your 15 years of building your expertise better, not obsolete. And there's so much that AI can do for you, and that's the mindset that you have to have. It's like, how with this amazing invention, how can this help me? How can it make my business better? How can it make my services better? And one of the things that I think that your first thing you're going to notice is that you're not working 12 hours a day, because it can make you more efficient. So I don't think you should get into the mind of, I have to go in a different direction and recreate myself. No, you're going to evolve yourself.
Yeah, and I think to kind of jump on that is the way that I've seen it is that, and it comes down to, we talk about this all the time. It's about how you frame things, and how you make them align with you, and it's about your thought process, and are you thinking it's a this or that model, or instead of this and that and that and that, or the infinity thinking that we talk about all the time.
Right.
And if you've heard our stuff, you've heard in many of our streams, we discuss that and what that is. I think a good perspective here is to look at AI can take the tasks away, but it can't take you away.
Exactly.
Right. And, so if 60% of what you do is automated, then it allows you to show up more as you, right? Instead of being bogged down with tasks. And, it's also, it may be, bringing to light that you are being underutilized in your business, right? If so much of what you're doing is done through tasks, right? What's the gift that you're bringing that can't be AI generated? To look at that, the question isn't, how do I keep doing what I've always done? It's what part of my core of who I am and the gift that I give does what part of what I'm doing does AI free up so that I can show up more as myself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And plus you have the fact that, if you're an entrepreneur, we are people of many hats, and that can be quite burdensome.
Mm-hmm.
So now those hats are still there, but things are getting done faster.
Yeah.
Whether it be from writing letters, writing copyright, automating, parts of your system. And if you don't know how to do this, well, then it's just a matter of delegating and finding somebody who can show you what those systems are, how to actually maximize AI to
Mm-hmm.
help you, not replace you.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're not abandoning those 15 years of experience and effort. You're redeploying them into a role where they were built for, right? So you can be there to, give your gift and whatever that is in your business, and then do the other hand off all the other stuff,
Exactly.
especially things you don't enjoy doing.
And that also means more time with your friends, more time with your family, more time with your children, just more
Yeah.
time for yourself and to better yourself. So change that mindset. Do not listen to what you're reading in the headlines and all the doom and gloom, because that's why it's doom and gloom. They want to keep you in that state of lack, that state of fear.
Yeah, that's that
And
societal conditioning we talk about all the time. That
right,
you have choice over accepting or not accepting that, or
right,
redefining it.
right. And I will take all that back as soon as I see Arnold Schwarzenegger walking through my door. Like, okay, I
Or
was wrong.
yeah,
Those
yeah.
were right. All right. So the next question that we've got is, my business hit $500,000, but I'm burned out. Every time I try to scale, I hit a wall. So how do I use the infinity matrix to break through instead of pushing harder?
Hmm.
And that's a really common question. Gary, you want to start with that?
Yeah, this kind of goes back to
I think that came from episode 178, where we were talking about the
I think
twin.
it's 179 it came from, but yeah, it's one of those, and it was about designing your framework.
Mhm.
So burning out at 500K usually isn't a revenue problem. Right? It's more of um, a matrix problem, and we were talking to someone the other day about the infinity matrix that we talk about all the time, and to remember that you are, so you as an individual, whoever's listening to us right now, You are an infinity matrix. You are a um, a living, breathing, interactive, dynamic, moment by moment manifesting unit. Okay. And you're taking things from what you see outside there, you're taking things what's going on inside here, so the external matrix and the internal matrix, you're bringing it all compressed into this vessel that you call a body and this thing you call a life, right? It's all showing up as that. And so you're trying to scale the same state that the bottleneck that you have has been built around. So if you're burning out, it's because you have some bottleneck that's happening that you've got a belief system around. You've got different ideas or definitions that say it has to happen this way, it has to do this, or you're not expanding your perception in a way that allows more to come in, right? Which goes back to kind of what we mentioned a little bit before. It's the this or that model. If there's a mechanism going on for you that says that you have this rule that this has to happen before I get to there, then that becomes it's either this or it's that, right? Instead of, no, well, why don't we change the rule so that it's inclusive of more than 500K? Why don't we include it so it's include, or if you're happy at 500K, to be 500K without the burnout, right? So in the infinity matrix, the one of the key components is to understand that you have full choice and control over the definitions that you put out into the universe, into your reality, right? So your broadcast, is if your broadcast is currently, if I don't control everything, it falls apart, which is kind of like, in that direction of the sabotage stuff. If I don't control everything, it falls apart. Again, it's this or that, right? That's the type of pattern that shows up in your team, right? If you have a team with you, so it's not, if it's not just you, it'll show up in the things that you do and the decisions you make. So the move isn't to push harder; it's to upgrade your being inside your business, who you are inside your business. Shift from chief firefighter to architect of the field, for example, right? So you can regulate, so you can choose, better definitions, better rules of engagement in whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah. So if I might want to add to that too. So we have dealt and worked with and advised a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners with this exact problem. And so I'm going to make a speculation to this person who wrote this question is that you micromanage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost going to guarantee that you micromanage.
Yeah.
And you micromanage because your ego is getting in the way. You don't think anybody's as good as you. And you're not delegating. Everything has to go through you. Now, when you're doing, depending on what your business is, but you're doing 500K or more, or any amount, what's happening is everything has to go through you. Everything. And you are just one person. You have failed to give your staff, who you're delegating to, some autonomy to make decisions because you don't have confidence in them. So there's two parts to that. One, do you not have confidence in them because you failed to hire the right person? Or two, you don't have confidence in them because your ego has just gotten in the way and you just simply think nobody can make a decision as well as I can.
Or three, you hired the right person but put him in the wrong position.
Correct. There's a mismatch, a misalignment, that's where the cipher comes in as well, because that's how the cipher helps business owners put the right person in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, puts them in the right job. And we've seen that mismatch so many times. It's like, this guy, why is he doing this when he's really good at this? So make that shift, and then you all of a sudden you see this surge of productivity come up because people are like, oh, I can really rock with this one. And they enjoy it even more because it is their cipher. So that's where I have seen this in so many businesses, and it's
And regardless of the size of your business, you got to think of your business like I've been coaching consulting businesses for 30 odd years. And it's a shift that entrepreneurs have to get to think of, I have to do it all, or I'm the main thing. No. Think of your business like an energetic ecosystem that you're standing inside of, right? Don't think of it like a machine that you're standing outside of and trying to fix with a wrench. Okay. You don't fix it from the outside in that way. You're inside. So you being there becomes the core radiance of energy and mindset and belief system and limitation. That becomes an essence of who you are in the business, right? And so if your nervous system only feels safe when you're holding everything together, and this is the control variable that Ross talked about, right? Of course you'll burn out.
exactly.
Right? So the first step is to pause, right? We talk about this in the last few streams. We've talked about this, right? Is to pause, really acknowledge the pattern without shame, right? And sometimes you may have to do this in reflection. Sometimes it's not happening in the moment. You've got to practice to get that. But you'll do it in reflection. You go, okay, well, I can remember that time. And you say, okay, well, what if I just paused, right? And acknowledge the pattern without any shame, right? And then you consciously choose a new way of being, right? You can have an internal chaos, right? Going in with that and transmitting that through the boundaries, through the expression of who you are, and the people that you communicate and interact with, right? Because when your inner field settles, then your outer system finally has space to grow beyond you.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay, so number 3 question. You good? Okay. Number 3 question is, I've launched 3 offers in the past 2 years. Each one felt like the one, but they all tanked. I'm starting to think I'm just not cut out for this. Could this be I believe it was that one, right? So, could this be related to tenet number 3? Am I forcing a mass-produced blueprint instead of building from my authentic wiring? So, 3 launches that tanked doesn't automatically mean I'm not cut out for this. A little story about this old guy named Colonel Sanders. He tanked, it was like 156 different restaurants, something like that, some ridiculous amount. I remember that said no to his special seasoning or whatever it is, his recipe, right?
Yeah.
Kept going. There's a Sylvester Stallone. How many producers did he go to and movie producers? And they said no, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that. It just means that, hey, you learn something each time. Okay. Don't be so hard on yourself. In today's society, I think it's so ingrained that everything has to happen out the gate or you're a failure, and that's just not always the case. Now what you got to look at is, are you going against the grain in all you do? That's different. Like if you're doing something that feels hard and it's like it doesn't resonate with you, you're doing it for the wrong reasons, there's a misalignment going on in something like that, right? So it often means that you've been trying to evolve. In that case, it means you're trying to evolve on someone else's schedule or someone else's blueprint. Okay. And
Exactly.
that's really what tenet number 3 is talking about, right? Is that
Yeah.
authentic evolution can't be mass produced, meaning that I can't have a someone I look up to and say that I'm going to do what they do and I'm going to get that result. And then if I do it and I don't get the result, well, guess what? You're a dynamic individual that's completely different with a different background, different history, different purpose, different intention, all kinds of different variables than that individual. right? Your spiritually evolving life force, yourself, your path may be different than theirs. Maybe you have to go through these things as learning to build a certain skill set, to build a certain level of ability and being, changing and transforming, molding who you are into who you need to be to even surpass what they did.
Yeah, and the other thing is too is that, so I'm really looking at this question again. It says, I've launched 3 offers that have tanked, and I was like, okay, well, tanked is a like completely failed or just didn't meet up to your expectations. That there's some definition there.
Totally.
But also, what did you do before these offers? Did you test them? Not with your friends and family who are going to tell you exactly what you want to hear. I said, did you do a small little launch to see how the audience is going to, or the market is going to respond to you and or to your offer? Or did you just go full on out with these 3 offers, just, ready, fire, aim type of thing? And you're like, well, you either had a misconnection with your audience where they didn't understand your product or the benefits of your product or what most importantly what it was going to do for them. You approach it with, I have a great idea and you should know, and that's why it should work for you because it's a great idea. And so that's kind of the way that I would look at this, also.
Yeah.
And then going back to the previous questions, like, who'd you have working on this for you? Did everything have to go through you? Did you have, who is your web person? Who is your copywriter? Who is, doing all this? Did you do all that yourself? Okay, well, I know this idea. It's called AI. Now we're back to question number 1.
Number 2, yeah.
So all of this is interconnected. And I hope that's what everybody's getting from us too, is that this is all interconnected.
And in the question, when I initially read it, I could hear the heartbreak underneath. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this. I mean, it's as an entrepreneur, that's the worst thing you want to hear from an
Right.
entrepreneur, right? And so maybe consider, what if your nervous system just isn't rejecting entrepreneurship? What if it's rejecting the way you've been taught to do it? Right. And really, tenet number 3 reminds us that you're not a download, right? You're a living, evolving, spiritually evolving life force, right? An evolving self. So I'd invite you to gently review those 3 offers, like Ross was saying, and notice, where did I feel most alive?
Mm-hmm.
Learn from that, right? Where did I feel like I was wearing someone else's clothes, right? What's the
Those hats we're talking about, right?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right. And and that's where the Core Mastery Cipher comes in, right? If you haven't yet had that chance to do the Core Mastery Cipher, it's a free tool that we've set up for you, so you can figure out what it is, the building mechanisms for breakthroughs that in a natural flowing way for you. And if you haven't done that yet, type hashtag cipher, CIPHER, hashtag cipher in the comments, and do it on our Instagram DM. That's probably the most reliable way to get it. And then you'll get an automatic link to go to get that cipher done. It's 60 seconds max it takes you to get that cipher done, and it'll give you a blueprint of how you're wired for breaking through and really excelling at whatever it is you want to do. Right. And so it'll answer a lot of questions and really get you to become more in alignment with what the way you're wired. Right. So that the next time you go and build your next offer from that place, where you feel more whole, more true, more in alignment, not from templates that look good or that you saw in a mass-produced webinar. Again, it's not to say those information isn't good. It's whether it's in alignment with who you are on the path that you're on. Right. You need to start from there, and then you can take those things and apply them in a whole different way. So that's the starting point, is the Core Mastery Cipher. And we talk about it all the time. Absolutely a super powerful tool, and has made massive shifts and transformations for people that that we've taken through it. And it's just really, really powerful. And it's a free tool for you. So you have no reason not to go and do it.
I kind of call it the ultimate aha moment when you're
Hmm.
like, oh, and just real quick before I get into the next question is that when you're launching your three programs. Maybe they're all three of them are different or whatever the case may be, but they all tank. So think of it like this: is that those programs, okay, were created by somebody who probably had a different cipher than you. So you're trying to force yourself, okay, to work within their model, their blueprint, when yours is over here and you have so much more flow. So you can take the ideas that you get from some of the gurus and the marketing guys and all that kind of stuff and such, but then you have to take it and go, well, that's this cipher. I'm this one, so I have to modify it so it works within my true essence. That's why there's so many
And the
different
cipher
sites.
is again the starting point. There's so many other variables that are different from you and them too, which I talked about
Exactly.
earlier, right? So
Exactly.
that core cipher is really the initial kickstart point. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. All
Hmm.
right. So next question. Um, this is a really good one. I help clients make millions, but can't break 200,000 myself. What structure am I holding that keeps money at arm's length? That's a really, really good question. Okay. And we've gone over this. I think this came from episode 178, I believe. And this goes
Yeah.
in conjunction with our
Mirrors you can't escape, right? Yeah.
right. And this goes with our second tenet, which is reality reflects the structure of your self-awareness. So, in other words, somewhere down deep, okay, you're you still see yourself as at subpar to your clients. It's like, I am the helper. I'm not the wealthy one. I just help people be wealthy. Think about that. Just think about it. Just let it settle in for just a moment.
Hmm.
Okay. I help people do that, but I'm not that. Okay. I clean people's houses, but I'm not the person who has a housekeeper.
Yeah.
I fix, Mercedes and Benzes and Rolls Royces. I fix them, but I don't own one. That's them. I'm here. This is my job to serve them. Okay. And if you have that way, I in a lot of the sales training that I do, okay, when I'm talking with salespeople and you know it's just like, well, why didn't you sell this, why didn't you upgrade them to this product? And then the real reason, when we really dig into it, is like, well, if I can't afford it, they can't afford it. And they just almost teared up going, oh my God. It's like, and I'm like, yeah. I says, that's why you're not excelling, is because you don't see yourself excelling. You don't see yourself as wealthy. Like, why is that?
Well, one of the other things, another perspective on that is too, is that if you're keeping money at arm's length, because you listen to the languaging, right? At arm's length, it means there's some part of your inner structure saying that maybe it's safer over there, right? Maybe it's it's I'm more familiar with this, or it's more virtuous for me to stay here, right? So there's some of that stuff that goes on, especially those that are in the service industry. It's more virtuous to I can't be rich and help people to evolve, or it's there's a lot of that stuff going on, which comes along with the identity of like Ross, I'm the supporter, I'm not the one who thrives, and and the belief that may go on with that, more money equals more risk or exposure or loss. There's all these things that have been conditioned onto us. Some we've accepted, some we haven't, and that kind of makes up that inner structure, that mirror that starts to show back from the reality that you're experiencing, right?
Yeah.
So until you shift that structure, the universe will keep faithfully, right, reflecting it back, through the delayed payments and surprise expenses. Changing the changes the way you see yourself in the money story,
Mm-hmm.
and the money story starts changing the way it shows up. right? We
Exactly.
talk about
So
this in our master lab, which we should kind of, maybe bring back into some of these conversations.
I
But
think we should.
in our master lab, Money, Abundance, and Spirituality, we talk about that you can have it all, right?
Hmm.
And that's part of that is shifting your relationship to it, your belief systems around it, your definition of it, and so that it's in alignment with what you would prefer instead of what you've been told or conditioned to believe.
Hmm. And that being told or conditioned to believe, the conditioning is really important. I talk about my own personal struggle. So when I've always been really good at making money. I really have, but I haven't been very good at keeping money.
Same here.
And I never understood this. Like I'm going back up to the question about burning out, because I just kept going and kept going and kept going. I said, how come I can't? How come I'm, I make it, but then it's gone. And I didn't waste money, but it just, for whatever reason, it was just the universe, just like, I'm doing what you're telling me to do. And so I had to do some really deep searching. And really what it came down to was that when I was younger, my parents fought all the time about money. They weren't physical fighting. They were just screaming and yelling. And I would be in my, down in my, my bedroom with covering my ears, because I just couldn't take just this angry and oh, it was brutal. So I was now being programmed that hanging on to money, having money was pain. It made my mother cry. And I couldn't have that. So then when I started making money, I'm like, no, this is like burning my hands. This is burning my heart. I'll get it out. Just here. And I would give money to people, friends, family, whatever the case and such. I really didn't waste a lot of money, but it would just like, it would just go and such. I'm like, no, you can have it. I don't want it, because this causes pain. It just kept bringing me back to those memories and such, until I realized that. And then I'm like, oh, that was my aha moment, 30 years ago. And this is in my adulthood. So I'm just like, I just kept dealing with this. And I'm like, why is this constantly happening to me? And so we have to look at what Gary said, is we have to look at that programming of why you don't feel like you're wealthy. You deserve wealth.
Yeah, and you again, why do you want more than 200K? I mean, there's so many things here, right? It's like, what's the,
Exactly.
it's, is it because you um again, you got to align with what's your values core and your essence of who you are. But I'd invite you to really get tender, and if anybody else is in a similar type situation, get tender and honest with this, because it's rarely, as Ross said, rarely about the numbers, right? So just close your eyes and imagine you're already on the other side of that 200K line, and notice what the sensations are, what arises for you, right? Notice any tension, notice any expansion, notice any fear, notice any excitement, and then ask, what story does my body tell me about me at that level, right? Am I allowed to have that much money?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then who set that parameter of allowed to or not allowed to? There's another story, right?
Exactly.
And then you guys, do I feel like I'm going to become a villain? Money is evil, right? All that kind of stuff, right? Or on the other side of 200K, do you lose something? Do you lose love? Do you lose freedom? Do you lose safety? Right?
Right.
Because
And
that's what the structure of tenet number 2 is pointing to, is that reality isn't punishing you. It's just a mirror, the blueprint that you're carrying, right? The core, the overriding blueprint. That's not the conscious mind wanting, because your conscious mind can want it all day. But if at the core that blueprint is established and well established, if you don't change that blueprint, if you don't have ways to interrupt it and reprogram it, then that wiring is going to continue to reflect that mirror, right? So, but as you gently rewire that self-image, as we teach our students with the infinity process, is to gently rewire that self-image into someone who can hold more and stay kind and grounded and generous, right? Then you'll notice fewer mysterious blocks and more doors opening up, sometimes subtle, sometimes blatantly obvious.
Yeah, and sometimes your mindset's also going to change from what am I losing with all this money to what am I gaining with all
Mhm.
this. Okay, what it goes from what I can't do to what I can do, and that's such those shifts. They're just nudges into the right direction, or I mean, and up until now they were nudges in the wrong direction, possibly. So, but it's that's going to be the big difference. All right, what Gary? What's the next question?
Next one is my spouse and I keep having the same argument. I know I'm reacting from old wounds, but in the moment, I can't stop. How do I use the 5 step method in real time? So we do the 5 step method in episode one, just one we just did, right? So it was, yeah, it was just the 5 steps of silencing the assassins.
Correct.
So um, I guess there's a couple parts to this. One is that it's unlikely at first that you're going to be able to do it in the moment, okay? Because it's so hardwired in there, right? So this is something you have to train yourself um, to kind of in reflection of the experience. You're going to look back because in the heat of, you're not going to. It's just not going to happen in the heat of the moment, right? Because you're talking out of your programming.
Hmm.
But what it does let you know is what you're programming. So it brings it to light, right?
Right.
So there's some good there. So, but once that comes to light, then you can look back on it. And this is sometimes a hard pill to swallow. But if you're on this stream and if you're watching our stuff, you're not afraid of this kind of work, right? So then you would kind of go back and you would look at it and you would then go through the 5 step process post event. And you do that enough, and then what happens starts to train your unconscious mind. Hey, the next time this happens, I'm going to do that instead, right? And so that becomes the new over time. It's going to take some time. Some people faster than others. Again, a lot of variables can come into that. But through that repetition, through that reconditioning, that reprogramming, then the new pattern becomes more apparent more consistently. And then the old one may still show up once in a while because there's nuances to some of those triggers that you don't always get. But when those nuances show up and they bring you back, you go, oh, I didn't catch that last time. Okay, let me go back and
Mhm.
retrain that 5 step process. So maybe you want to go through the 5 step process with them, Russ, so they can kind of
Yeah.
get
So
the gist of it again.
yeah. So this is so important because what we've seen, especially over the last 5, 6 years, is that society is so reactive, and that's exactly what this question is asking about. So I'm so reactive. I just somebody pushes my button, I react, and say things, do things, whatever the case may be, that I'm going to ultimately regret. But it just happens. So the first step in the 5 step method is to pause it. Pause the moment. Okay. When you and you're and it's a little bit different for everyone, but when you start to feel that tightness in your chest, or that kind of rage in the back of your mind, and that's going to be your trigger to go, I need to pause. Take a deep breath and just pause for a moment. Okay, so that.
And let me just pause here. uh, so in doing that, what you're doing is you're bringing more awareness to what triggers that response, right? And the more awareness you bring to it, even if it's after the effect, after the event, then because you have awareness now, when that sensation, when that internal shift occurs, it becomes more obvious to you, and you can then catch it in the moment.
Correct. You identify it. It becomes you understand that, oh, I'm feeling that I'm feeling something different. Okay, that tightness in my chest, that the butterflies in my stomach, whatever it might be, it's different for everyone. Even a certain tension in a particular part of your body. You just feel your shoulders starting to tighten up, whatever the case may be. That is that's that's you. That's like that's how this is happening. That's your signal to pause it. Just take a deep breath. Doesn't matter what the other person is doing. You are going to pause it. You're not trying to pause them, you're trying to pause you so that you are now responding to a situation and not reacting to it. Okay, and then the second step is to sense it. Where, as I said, where in your body is this? Is it in your chest? Is it in your gut? Is it in your throat? Is it, do your ears get hot? Or, whatever the case may be, it's somewhere, but you're not aware of it right now because you're in a reactionary state. But now that you've paused, you're kind of just doing this analysis of your body. Where am I feeling this? And this is, and Gary said, this is a process. It probably will not happen the very first time, but now you're aware. It's like, okay, there's a way that I can get out of this, okay, and make this work better. And at the same time, it would be nice to have your spouse be doing the same thing. But right now, we're only focusing on you because this question is about you. I'm reacting from old wounds. Okay. All right. So now that you've sensed it, now you're going to feel it. This is step 3. Okay. In other words, you're going to you can call it something. It's like, okay, you know, but not give it this definition. Not if it's an old wound and you're starting to feel it. Now those feelings from that old wound can come out, can start to surface like, yeah. He's like, no, 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 no. I'm feeling this. And, how do I feel? How do I feel? Well, I feel dismissed. I feel ignored. What am I just feeling without the emotion? Okay. Um, another phrase that you want to try to avoid is that this always happens to me. Anytime she or he says this, I always do this. I always do. Now you're conditioning yourself. You're programming yourself that, okay, well, that happens. This is what I do. I'm programming myself to do it. Instead, you're just going to say, how is this making me feel? Okay. Just give it a name. I'm feeling blank. All right. Then the next step is going to be you're going to frame it. Okay. You're going to ask, put a frame around it. You're going to ask, what if this is happening for me and not to me? What if this is happening for me and not to me? In other words, for me, is this a lesson for me?
How does it serve? Right.
How does it serve me? Is this, uh, so we go back to the first where it says this is always happening. Well, maybe it is always happening because you're not getting it. You're not understanding that this is a lesson for you to learn. How can this help me grow better? How can this help me be a better husband or a better wife or a better partner or whatever and such? How can this help me? And see it as a stepping stone to build a better, stronger relationship, a better foundation. When you say this is happening to me, you just went into victim mode. Woe is me. This is always happening. I live a miserable life. I'm going to be like this for the rest of my life. Okay. But when it's like, how is this helping me? How is this happening for me? You'll feel your body just kind of lift up. Your back is going to straighten. Your head's going to be higher. You're just going to feel like, okay, I'm above this. I'm better than what I was before. Okay. All right. So now you've framed it. So you've paused it. You sensed it. You felt it. And now you're framing it. And then the 5th step is flow with it. Just flow, just like, okay, great. Now choose a small response that's aligned with who you want to be in the moment. Okay. Again, depending on the situation, is this like, okay, well, that's the way I was. This is the way I am now. And this is the way I'm going to be. Okay. Embolden yourself, empower yourself. And this is just all for you. Okay, I got this. I'm learning from this. And you can actually look at the person that you're having that conflict with and just say, you know what? You're absolutely right. I have been like this, and I am not going to be like this anymore. And I need your help. I want to be better, and I need you to help me be better. You're my partner. Such you're always around me. You know more about me than I probably know about me. Because in many cases, that those things that just keep coming up from the other person is because they are not understanding, or they're not seeing you take evolve yourself above that situation. And it could be it could be a deep wound, but when you start to mend your wounds like this and saying that was then, this is now. Gary, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think you kind of went through it good there. So again, just as a quick, so let's say again, your things are heating up with someone you love, right? And the old wounds start to rush to the surface, right? Start to make the practice. Do it small, ridiculously small. The moment you notice that surge, Ross talked about, whether it's a throat closing or chest burning, whisper to yourself internally, pause, right? Just whisper that to yourself. Have a little voice goes, pause, as soon as you notice it, right? And that's you stepping into what we call the gap we talked about that in the lesson, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then gently sense where that lives, right? Feel it, feel the emotion, and silently name it, whatever it is. I feel dismissed, I feel unseen, whatever it is for you, right? That alone will soften your system up, right? That alone will start to settle it down. Then frame the moment in a new way, right? Maybe this isn't proof your relationship is broken, it's a mirror showing us what still hurts,
Mm-hmm.
right? And from there, you can flow by asking for a pause, by sharing the feeling inside, instead of going into accusations, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever the initial response was. And every time you do that, you're teaching your nervous system a new pattern, a new response, a new programming, and you're teaching it that love and self-protection don't have to be at war.
Yeah, very good. And so I think this is probably going to be our last question that we could do for the day. Otherwise, we can kind of keep going on
Yeah.
forever. But with this though, and everything that we've discussed today and such, keep this in mind too. We're in a world where everybody wants everything fast. Okay. And if it doesn't happen right away, well, that doesn't work. It's like it does. But what you're working with now is trying to rewrite years, decades of programming and habits. So cut yourself some slack. Give yourself time for, if one of these questions that we answered today, if it resonates with you, okay, give yourself some slack and say, okay, I'm going to work on this, because it is going to take a little bit of time. But each time you
And
do it, you are just nudging yourself. You're just a little bit better, and you're a little bit better, and it just compounds. And then all of a sudden, it gets easier and easier and easier. And then it becomes, I really like this. This is really cool. It's more rewarding than it is work. This is really nice. My relationship's better. My business is better. Whatever the case may be, whatever is resonating with you. Uh, and and also when it comes to this last one that we're doing with the spouse, again, as Gary and I've said, both of you go do the cipher. Just get on the cipher and go and find out if you're matched or if you're a mismatch, as far as the way, and there's not really a mismatch, but so that you'll start to understand how that your spouse or your partner is perceiving you and perceiving what you're saying. So then you can start modifying how you're talking to each other, so there's just simply a better communication. Oh, I get it. Okay. And that is magic. Okay.
yeah.
I think that's it.
And so also, if you are going through something and and you feel you do need that extra support, you can reach out to find out about our additional programs that we have for our students and clients.
Mhm.
Just reach out to us through DMs, and we can kind of have some conversations with you to see if it's a good fit and go from there. But definitely in that core cipher is a first step, so you can understand and we can understand what's the core patterns and wiring that's going on for you, and then kind of launch everything from that place. All right. Again, if you want to know that, if you don't have the core cipher yet, hashtag cipher on Messenger, on DM on Instagram, and you'll get that link to get access to that.
Yeah. And if you're watching on YouTube, the link will actually be in the description as well.
In the comments. Yeah.
Yeah. So all kinds of different ways to get a hold of us, and we're here for
every
you.
Thursday. Pretty much.
And we'll see you next week.
All right. Be well, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. All right, all right, all right. Very, very cool. That was a good one. All right. Thanks again, everyone.